A Navy SEAL shuts down racists with one badge flash, sparking a viral storm. Like and subscribe to catch every thrilling moment of justice. Don't miss our latest video. James Tate maneuvered his battered pickup truck into a parking spot at the Norfolk Naval Base. The midday sun blazing off the hood, casting sharp shadows on the asphalt. A Navy SEAL, 38, with a chiseled frame honed by years of covert missions. He'd just returned from a grueling operation in the Pacific, dressed in civilian clothes, faded jeans, a black t-shirt, and worn boots. He stepped out, slinging a duffel bag over his broad shoulder. His brown eyes, steady and unyielding, scanned the lot, a habit from years of vigilance. Before he could lock the truck, a piercing voice shattered the calm. "Hey, you get out of our spot." Karen Wheeler, a peroxide blonde in her mid-40s, stormed across the pavement, her face flushed with rage, designer sunglasses perched on her head. Her husband, Todd, a stocky man in a red cap and polo shirt, followed, his jaw set. "You heard her? That's for Americans, not you," Karen spat, her voice dripping venom, the slur cutting through the air like a blade. Sailors nearby froze, their conversations halting, eyes darting to the scene. James paused, his expression unreadable, the duffel still in hand. "Ma'am, this is open parking," he said, his voice low, measured but firm, like steel wrapped in velvet. Todd stepped closer, puffing his chest, his face reddening. "Don't talk back. Boy, you don't belong here. Stealing what's ours." The word boy landed like a punch, and a sailor gasped, muttering to his buddy. Karen whipped out her smartphone, filming, her manicured nails glinting. "I'm calling the cops right now." "You're done, you hear me? Done," she shrieked, her voice rising to a fever pitch. Todd smirked, crossing his arms. "Yeah, Lee, let's see how tough you are when they drag you away." James set his duffel down deliberately, his movements calm, almost serene, but his eyes locked onto Karen's, unflinching. "No need for that," he said. Reaching into his back pocket, he flipped open a leather wallet, revealing his SEAL Trident badge, its gold surface catching the sun, gleaming like a beacon. Karen's jaw dropped, her phone shaking in her grip. The video still rolling. Todd's smirk vanished, his face paling as if he'd seen a ghost. What is that?" Karen stammered, her voice cracking, her sunglasses sliding down her nose. Before either could process it, a Humvee screeched to a halt beside them, tires squealing, kicking up dust. 6 armed military police spilled out, rifles slung, snapping to attention with crisp precision. Commander Tate, Sir the lead officer, a grizzled sergeant, barked, his salute sharp. "Welcome back from deployment, sir." The MPs formed a semicircle around James, their respect palpable, their eyes flicking to the Wheelers with barely concealed disdain. Karen's phone slipped from her trembling hand, cracking on the pavement, but the civilian worker nearby, a young woman in a base uniform, kept filming, her phone steady, capturing every second. The video was already streaming live on #NavyBaseClash, comments flooding in. Todd grabbed Karen's arm, his voice a harsh whisper. "Karen, shut up. We're in trouble," but Karen yanked free, her face contorted. "This is a mistake. He's lying. He can't be. One of you," she screamed, pointing at the MPs, her voice breaking. James stepped forward, his badge still raised, his voice cutting through her hysteria like a knife. "You picked the wrong man to mess with," he said, each word deliberate, his gaze boring into her. The MPs tightened their formation, one radioing. "Disturbance in Lot B. Possible civilian threat." Karen's eyes widened, panic setting in. "He's threatening us. You saw it," she yelled, turning to the growing crowd of sailors and workers, some now recording too. Todd, desperate, lunged at James, swinging a wild fist, his face twisted with rage. "You think you're hot shit," he roared. James moved like lightning, sidestepping the punch, grabbing Todd's wrist, and twisting it with surgical precision. Todd yelped, dropping to his knees, his cap tumbling off. "Stay down," James warned, his grip unrelenting, his voice calm but lethal. The MPs surged forward, one slamming cuffs on Todd's wrists as he groaned. "This is assault!" Karen lunged, clawing at the nearest MP, shrieking, "You can't do this. We're taxpayers. We have rights." The sergeant blocked her, his voice booming. "Ma'am, step back or you're next." The civilian's video kept rolling, now viral, the hashtag racking up thousands of views. James released Todd, stepping back, his badge still in hand. He turned to the sergeant. "Escort them off base. I'll file a full report." The MPs nodded, dragging Todd to his feet, Karen kicking and screaming as they pulled her toward a patrol vehicle. "You'll pay for this. You'll all pay," she howled, her voice echoing across the lot. James hefted his duffel, the crowd parting, some sailors saluting, others clapping, their murmurs of, "That's Commander Tate," spreading. He climbed into the Humvee, the sergeant slamming the door. But as the vehicle pulled away, James's gut twisted. This wasn't just a random outburst, it was a spark. And sparks ignite infernos. Inside the base, Captain Ruiz, his commanding officer, met him in the briefing room, a tablet in hand. "That video's everywhere," Ruiz said, showing a feed with millions of views, comments raging against the Wheelers. "You holding up," James nodded, but his jaw was tight. They crossed a line. "Sir, I'm pressing charges. Hate crime, defamation, the works." Ruiz's eyes hardened, nodding. "You've got the Navy's full support." "Legal's already on it," James exhaled, but as he left the room, his phone buzzed a text from an anonymous number. "You're marked. Hero. Watch your back." He gripped the phone, the Wheelers' faces flashing in his mind, their venom now a public spectacle. But something bigger was brewing, a fight he hadn't asked for, but one he'd finish. He stepped into the base's command center, the weight of his badge heavier than ever, ready for war. James Tate sat in the Norfolk Naval Base's briefing room, the hum of fluorescent lights overhead doing little to ease the tension coiling in his chest. The tablet on the table glowed with the viral video hashtag Navy Base Clash, now trending with over 10 million views. Comments flooding with outrage against Karen and Todd Wheeler's racist tirade. Captain Ruiz, his commanding officer, leaned back in his chair, his weathered face grim. "This is a PR nightmare for them, but it's also a target on your back, Tate," Ruiz said, sliding the tablet toward him. "You sure about pressing charges?" James's jaw tightened, his brown eyes unyielding. "They called me slurs, threatened me, and swung first." "Sir, I'm not letting that slide." Ruiz nodded, respect flickering in his gaze. "Legal's building the case hate crime, defamation, assault, but the Wheelers aren't backing down." James's phone buzzed. A news alert couple in viral Navy video hires top attorney, claims victimhood. He scoffed. But the anonymous text from me yesterday, "You're marked," Hero flashed in his mind. This wasn't over. Across town, Karen Wheeler paced a sleek law office, her blonde hair disheveled, her voice a venomous hiss. "That thug humiliated us. He set us up." Her attorney, Victor Grayson, a shark in a tailored suit, tapped his pen. "Mrs. Wheeler, the video's damning, but we can spin it? Claim emotional distress. Argue Tate provoked you." Todd, nursing a bruised wrist from James's takedown, growled, "I want him ruined, jobless, broke, locked up." Karen nodded, eyes gleaming. "He's not a hero. He's a fraud. Dig up dirt. Anything." Grayson smirked. "I've got contacts. We'll paint him as a loose cannon. File a countersuit by tonight." Karen's lips curled. "Good. And I want protection. People are threatening us online." Grayson dialed a number, his voice low. "I need muscle. Discreet but effective. Outside, the internet burned. X post with hashtag Navy-based clash called the Wheelers Karens of the Year, while others, darker, spewed hate at James, doxing his name, his unit, a local extremist group, the Sons of Liberty. Seized the moment, their leader, Caleb Holt, ranting on a live stream. Tate's a danger, pushing his agenda. We'll show him who owns this country. His followers, masked and armed, vowed to handle James. Back at the base, James met with his team in a secure bunker. Their faces a mix of pride and worry. Lena Carter, a former SEAL and his closest ally, tossed him a burner phone. Your personal's compromised, she said, her voice sharp. They leaked your number online. James checked the burner, finding a flood of threats. Go back to Africa. We know where you live. His fist clenched, but he kept his cool. They're not just loudmouths, he said. Someone's organizing this. Lena nodded, pulling up a hacked feed of the Sons of Liberty's chat. Caleb Holt's rallying his goons. They're planning something your house, maybe your truck. James's CO interrupted. Striding in? Tate, you're on leave until this cools off. Stay low. But we've got MPs patrolling your place. James shook his head. I'm not hiding. Sir, they want to fight. They'll get one. Ruiz sighed. Then keep Lena close and watch your six. That night, James and Lena staked out his modest duplex on the city's edge. The street quiet except for crickets. Lena, perched in the shadows, scanned the darkness with binoculars. 2 trucks, 3 blocks out. They're not subtle, she whispered. James gripped a tactical knife, his SEAL training kicking in. Let's move. They slipped into the backyard as the trucks rolled up. 4 men piling out Sons of Liberty, wearing ski masks, carrying bats and a Molotov cocktail. James signaled the waiting, and they split up, flanking the group. The leader, a wiry man with Holt's voice, hissed, "Burn it down. Send a message." James struck first, lunging from the shadows, his knife slashing the leader's bat in half. The man yelped, stumbling, as James tackled him, pinning him to the dirt. Lena took the second, a swift kick dropping him, his Molotov shattering harmlessly. The other 2 swung bats, but James rolled, tripping one, his fist cracking the man's jaw. Lena disarmed the last, twisting his arm until he screamed. Who sent you? James growled, knee on the leader's chest. The man spat. You'll see, hero sirens wailed MPs, alerted by a neighbor. The thugs were cuffed, but James found a burner phone on the leader, its last call to a number linked to Grayson's firm. The Wheelers, he muttered, rage simmering. Lena pocketed the phone. We've got a trail. Back at the base, James briefed Ruiz. The burner phone, now evidence. Karen's funding these attacks, he said, and Grayson's her puppet master. Ruiz's face hardened. We'll trace it, but the countersuits filed. They were claiming you assaulted them, violated their rights. James's eyes narrowed. Let them try. I'm taking this to court. As he left, his burner buzzed a new threat. Your team's next. Lena, beside him, cracked her knuckles. They want war. We'll bring it. The city pulsed outside, the viral video now a global story. But James knew the real fight was just beginning. Karen's defiance, Holt's mob, and an unseen hand pulling strings meant blood was coming. James Tate crouched in the shadows of his duplex's backyard, the Norfolk night thick with humidity, his tactical knife glinting under a sliver of moonlight. Lena Carter, his former SEAL teammate, knelt beside him, her binoculars trained on the street. The viral video of his clash with Karen and Todd Wheeler had ignited a firestorm, and the burner phone evidence from the Sons of Liberty's failed attack last night pointed to Karen's funding. But James knew this was no ordinary vendetta. The anonymous threat, your team's next, meant someone bigger was pulling strings, possibly inside the base. Lena's voice was a whisper. 3 SUVs, 6 guys, 1 block out. They're armed bats, knives, maybe guns. James's jaw tightened, his SEAL instincts razor sharp. They're hitting my truck first. Let's cut them off. They slipped through the yard, silent as ghosts, as the SUVs rolled up, their headlights off. 6 men, sons of liberty, masked. Their leader, Caleb Holt's voice distinct, spilled out. Crowbars and gas cans in hand, smash his truck. Then the house. Holt snarled, make it look like a gang hit. James signaled Lena, and they struck. James lunged, slamming his knife's hilt into Holt's temple, dropping him before he could swing his crowbar. Lena tackled the second man, her elbow cracking his jaw, sending him sprawling. The third raised a pistol, but James dove, wrenching the gun free, its shot going wild into the night. Pain seared his side, a fourth man's knife grazed his ribs, blood soaking his shirt. James roared, grabbing the attacker's wrist, snapping it with a twist. The man screamed, collapsing. As Lena dispatched the fifth with a knee to the gut, the sixth bolted, but James sprinted, tackling him into the SUV's hood, denting it. Who's bankrolling you? James growled, pressing the stolen pistol to the man's throat. The thug spat. You're dead, SEAL. Sirens wailed MPs, alerted by neighbors' calls. James zip-tied the men, Lena securing the weapons. Blood dripped from his wound, but he ignored it, searching Holt's pockets. Another burner phone, its last text. Hit Tate tonight. No survivors. The number wasn't Grayson's, it was internal. A base prefix. We've got a mole, James muttered, handing the phone to Lena. Someone on our side's dirty. Lena's eyes narrowed. I'll trace it. You need a medic. James shook his head, adrenaline pumping. Not yet. They're escalating. Across town, Karen Wheeler stood in a dimly lit motel room, her nails digging into her palms as she screamed into a phone. You said they'd handle him. Victor Grayson's voice was calm, oily, patience. Mrs. Wheeler, Holt's team is expendable. We've got bigger plans. Todd, pacing, his face bruised from James's takedown, snapped. Bigger plans. That video's killing us. My boss fired me today, Karen rounded on him. Shut up. Todd Grayson's fixing this. But Grayson's next words chilled her. Keep your mouth shut, or you're cut off. The line went dead. Karen threw the phone, shattering a lamp. He's using us. Todd grabbed her arm. Then we go bigger, pay Holt's boys to burn Tate's life down. Karen's eyes gleamed, unhinged. Yes, everything he loves gone. Back at the base, James sat in the infirmary, a medic stitching his side, Lena at his side with a laptop. The phone's number traces to a low-level officer. Lieutenant Pierce, she said. He's in logistics, access to personnel files. James's fist clenched, pain flaring. He sold me out. Why? Lena pulled up Pierce's financials, unexplained deposits. Thousands. From an offshore account linked to Grayson's firm. Money, she said. Karen's cash. Grayson's orders. James stood, wincing, but resolute. We confront Pierce, quietly. If he's the mole, he knows who's above him. Ruiz entered, his face grim. Tate, your truck's totaled, smashed windows. Gas poured inside. MPs caught it before it burned. James's eyes darkened. They're hitting me where I live. Time to hit back. He and Lena moved to the logistics office. Finding Pierce alone, sweating over a computer, James slammed the door, towering over him. Talk. Pierce, who's paying you to betray me? Pierce's eyes darted, panicked. I don't know what. Lena shoved the burner phone's log in his face. Your number? Your text, spill, or you're done. Pierce crumpled, voice shaking, wing. Grayson, he promised me a cut, said Tate's a threat to the base's image. James grabbed his collar, lifting him. A cut of what Pierce choked. The Wheelers' lawsuit money, and something bigger. I don't know. A noise outside, tires screeching. James dropped Pierce, peering through the blinds. 2 SUVs, more sons of liberty. armed, circling the building. "They're here," Lena hissed, drawing her knife. James grabbed a fire extinguisher, his wound throbbing. "Lock Pierce in. We take them outside." They slipped into the alley, the extremists closing in, Holt's voice barking orders from a radio. James sprayed foam, blinding the first two, then tackled them, fists flying. Lena took the third, her knife slashing his tire iron away. A fourth fired a shotgun, pellets grazing James's arm. He roared, smashing the extinguisher into the man's chest, dropping him. The last fled, but MPs swarmed, cuffing the rest. Pierce, cowering inside, was hauled to detention. James, bloodied, leaned against the wall, Lena at his side. "Grayson's playing a long game," he said, "and Karen's just his pawn." Lena nodded. "We need his files. His office." Tonight, James gripped his knife. The mole exposed, but the mastermind still out there. The city pulsed beyond, the videos fallout a war cry, and James was ready to fight. James Tate crouched in the alley behind Victor Grayson's law office, the Norfolk skyline a jagged silhouette against the midnight sky. Rain slicked his jacket, masking the blood seeping from his stitched rib wound, but his brown eyes burned with focus. Lena Carter, his former SEAL teammate, knelt beside him, her lockpick scraping softly against the service door's deadbolt. The burner phone from the Sons of Liberty's attack had traced back to Grayson, tying him to Karen Wheeler's vendetta. But James needed hard-proof documents, emails, anything linking her to the extremist group and their plan to frame him. Lena's whisper cut through the drizzle. "Pierce's confession only gets us so far. If Grayson's smart, his files are encrypted." James gripped his tactical knife, his voice low. "Then we crack them. He's not walking away." The lock clicked, and Lena eased the door open, revealing a dark maintenance hall, the air heavy with mildew and toner. They slipped inside, moving like shadows, their boots silent on the concrete. Grayson's office was on the 5th floor, a fortress of glass and steel, but James had scouted the building's weak point service elevators. No cameras. The elevator hummed, carrying them up. Lena's laptop slung over her shoulder, ready to hack. The doors opened to a plush hallway, red carpet muffling their steps. Grayson's corner office loomed, its frosted glass door etched with his name. Lena knelt, bypassing the electronic lock with a handheld decoder, her fingers steady. 10 seconds, she muttered, the device beeping. James scanned the hall, knife ready, the mole's betrayal, Lieutenant Pierce still raw. Someone higher was pulling Grayson's strings, and this office held the answers. The lock clicked, and they slipped inside, the city's glow filtering through blinds. Grayson's desk was a slab of mahogany, flanked by file cabinets and a high-end desktop. Lena plugged her laptop into the system, her custom software probing for weak points. "This guy's paranoid," she said, frowning. Military-grade encryption. James rifled through the desk, finding a locked drawer. He jimmied it with his knife, pulling out a burner phone and a flash drive. "Bingo," he whispered, tossing the drive to Lena. She plugged it in, the screen flashing. "Access denied." A progress bar ticked 8 minutes to crack. Too long. A faint hum broke the silence, elevators moving. James peered through the blinds, spotting 2 security guards in the lobby below. Radios crackling. "We tripped a silent alarm," he hissed. Lena's fingers flew. 5 minutes. "I can get in." James shook his head, grabbing a stapler as a makeshift weapon. "No time. They're coming." Footsteps echoed in the stairwell. Heavy, deliberate. James pulled Lena behind a cabinet as the door burst open. 3 guards sweeping in, flashlights cutting the dark. Perimeter breach. One barked, his pistol drawn. James struck, hurling the stapler, cracking the first guard's forehead. The man stumbled, and James tackled him, wrenching the pistol free. A silenced Beretta. Lena lunged, disarming the second with a kick, her knife at his throat. Down she snapped. The third fired, the bullet grazing James's shoulder, blood spraying. He roared, firing back. The silenced shot hitting the guard's leg. The man collapsed, groaning. James zip-tied them, but alarms blared reinforcements were coming. Lena's laptop pinged, access granted. She scrolled, eyes widening. Grayson's got a dossier, Karen's payments to Sons of Liberty, plans to frame you for assaulting Holt's men, and a contract. Someone's paying Grayson to destabilize the base. James's gut twisted. Who? Lena shook her head. No names. Just a code name, Patriot. Offshore accounts. They copied the files, but boots thundered below more guards. Maybe Sons of Liberty. James grabbed the flash drive, shoving it into his pocket. We're out. They sprinted for the stairwell, Lena's laptop under her arm. The fifth floor was a maze of offices, but the guards were close, their shouts echoing. James kicked open a fire exit, leading to a rooftop access. The rain-soaked roof was a jungle of vents and satellite dishes. The city sprawling below. A helicopter's rotors thumped in the distance, Grayson's private security. Karen's money at work. They're boxing us in. Lena hissed, checking the laptop. James spotted a maintenance ladder to the adjacent building. There, they slid down, the rusted metal creaking, landing in another alley. The chopper's spotlight swept overhead, pinning them. James dove behind a dumpster, pulling Lena with him, bullets sparking off the pavement. He fired the Beretta, 3 shots, shattering the spotlight. The chopper veered, but SUVs screeched around the corner, Sons of Liberty. Holt's voice barking orders. James and Lena sprinted, weaving through alleys, the flash drive their only leverage. They reached a parked motorcycle, Lena hot-wiring it in seconds. Hold on, she yelled, gunning the engine. James clung to her, the Beretta empty, as they roared through traffic. Holt's SUVs in pursuit. A thug leaned out, firing a shotgun, pellets shredding a storefront. James grabbed a loose brick, hurling it, cracking the SUV's windshield. The driver swerved, crashing into a hydrant. The second SUV gained, but Lena veered into a narrow street, losing them. They ditched the bike near a safe house, a dive bar's back room. Lena checked the flash drive intact. Karen's done, she said, but this Patriot is a real threat. James nodded, his shoulder bleeding, ribs aching. We take Grayson down, we find Patriot. Across town, Karen screamed at Grayson in a motel, her face wild. Your men failed again. Grayson's voice was ice. Stay calm, or you're expendable. He hung up, dialing a new number. Tate's got the files. Neutralize him. James, bandaging his shoulder, knew the fight was bigger than the Wheelers. The base, his team, his honor all were on the line. James Tate hunched over a scarred table in the dive bar's backroom safe house, the stink of stale beer and cigarette smoke clinging to the air. His shoulder throbbed, bandaged from the rooftop chase, but the flash drive in his pocket loaded with Grayson's files tying Karen Wheeler to the Sons of Liberty kept him sharp. Lena Carter, her laptop glowing, decrypted the last of the data, her face grim. Karen's payments are clear, but this Patriot code name runs deeper, she said, pointing to a coded email. Someone's using Grayson to destabilize the base. James's brown eyes narrowed, his knife resting on the table. We need the puppet master. But first, we bury Karen. A knock rattled the door. James gripped his knife, Lena drawing a stolen Beretta. The door creaked open, revealing Clara Nguyen, a civilian clerk from the base, her eyes wide with fear. Commander Tate, I have something, she whispered, clutching a USB stick. I couldn't stay quiet. James lowered his blade, nodding her in. Clara, a Vietnamese American who'd faced slurs herself, Plugged the USB into Lena's laptop. Grainy security footage played Lieutenant Pierce, the mole, slipping a flash drive to a Sons of Liberty thug in the base parking lot. Pierce is working for Grayson, Clara said, voice shaking. He's been leaking your movements. James's fist clenched, the betrayal cutting deep. Why come to us? Clara straightened. You stood up to those bigots. I'm done hiding. Lena's screen pinged more footage, showing Pierce receiving cash from a man linked to Grayson's firm. This nails him, Lena said. James stood, wincing from his ribs. We take this to the disciplinary hearing tomorrow. Expose Pierce, Grayson, and Karen in one shot. Lena nodded, but Clara hesitated. They're watching the base. Holt's men are everywhere. James's jaw tightened. Then we move fast. They planned through the night Clara would smuggle the footage to Captain Ruiz. Lena would hack the hearing's AV system to broadcast the evidence, and James would confront Pierce publicly. But the Sons of Liberty wouldn't sit idle. At dawn, James and Lena slipped into the base, Clara trailing, her ID bypassing checkpoints. The disciplinary hearing, set in the base's auditorium, was packed, officers, MPs, and press, all buzzing over the viral video. Karen and Todd Wheeler, under legal pressure, attended, their lawyer Grayson at their side, his smirk smug. James, in dress blues despite his wounds, stood backstage, the USB in his pocket. Lena, hidden in the AV booth, prepped the footage. Ruiz took the podium, his voice firm. We're here to address allegations against Commander Tate and civilian complaints. Grayson stood, his voice oily. Tate assaulted my clients, abused his authority. We demand his discharge. Karen sneered, whispering to Todd, he's finished. James stepped forward, badge gleaming, silencing the room. I'm here to set the record straight, he said, holding up the USB. Pierce, step up. Pierce, in the front row, paled, his uniform crisp but his eyes darting. This is nonsense, he stammered. But James nodded to Lena. The screens flared, showing Pierce's deal with the thug. Cash changing hands. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Grayson lunged for the mic. This is fabricated Tate's framing an innocent officer. But Clara, from the sidelines, shouted. I pulled the footage myself. The room erupted. Officers demanding answers. Pierce bolted for the exit. But James sprinted, tackling him into a table. Papers flying. You sold me out, James roared, pinning him. MPs swarmed, cuffing Pierce, but a low boom shook the auditorium. Smoke poured from the vents. Screams broke out, the crowd stampeding. Lena's voice crackled in James's earpiece. Sons of Liberty, gas attack, non-lethal, but they're coming. James dragged Pierce to a side room, Clara and Ruiz following. Outside, Holt's men, masked and armed, stormed the building, firing tear gas canisters, their shouts echoing. Get Tate, Holt bellowed. James grabbed a fire extinguisher, spraying foam to clear a path, his eyes burning. Lena burst in, coughing, Beretta raised. They've blocked the exits, she yelled. James handed Clara to Ruiz. Get her out, sir! He and Lena charged into the chaos, tear gas clouding the hall. Holt's men swung batons, but James ducked, his knife slashing a thug's arm, dropping him. Lena fired, wounding another, but a third tackled her, pinning her. James roared, slamming the extinguisher into the man's back, freeing her. Holt emerged, a pistol aimed at James. You're done, hero, he snarled. James dove behind a pillar, bullets sparking off steel. He hurled the extinguisher, cracking Holt's wrist, the pistol skittering away. Lena tackled Holt, zip-tying him as MPs breached the hall, subduing the rest. The gas cleared, the crowd coughing but safe. Ruiz returned, Clara shaken but unharmed. Pierce is talking, Ruiz said. He's naming Grayson's contacts. James, blood and sweat mixing, nodded. Karen's next, Across town, Karen watched the news in a motel, her face ashen as Grayson's plan unraveled. "They've got Pierce," she hissed. Todd grabbed a bait. "We're leaving now." But Grayson's voice on the phone was cold. "Run, and you're dead." James, wiping blood from his lip, knew the fight was far from over. The Patriot was still out there, and the hearing had only lit the fuse. James Tate stood in the Norfolk courthouse, his dress blues crisp despite the ache in his stitched ribs and shoulder, the weight of the flash drive in his pocket grounding him. The courtroom buzzed with tension, reporters crammed the benches, cameras flashing, while Karen and Todd Wheeler sat at the defendant's table, their lawyer Victor Grayson whispering strategy. The viral video of their racist tirade had made them pariahs, but Grayson's countersuit accused James of assault and defamation, aiming to paint him as a rogue SEAL. Lena Carter, in the gallery, clutched a laptop with the decrypted files linking Karen to the Sons of Liberty, ready to hack the courtroom's AV if needed. Clara Nguyen, the base clerk who'd exposed Lieutenant Pierce, sat beside her, nervous but resolute. James's jaw tightened as the judge, a stern woman with gray hair, banged her gavel. "Order, we begin with the plaintiff's claims against Commander Tate." Grayson stood, his voice slick. "Your Honor, my clients were humiliated, assaulted, and slandered by a man abusing his authority. Tate's actions incited a public witch hunt." Karen, her blonde hair pulled tight, nodded, her eyes venomous. Todd, bruised and sullen, muttered, "He's a thug." James's lawyer, a Navy JAG officer named Captain Hayes, rose. "Your Honor, we have evidence proving the Wheelers' hate crime and their ties to a terrorist group." Grayson scoffed, but James stepped forward, holding up the flash drive. "This contains proof Karen Wheeler funded the Sons of Liberty to attack me, my home, my team." The courtroom erupted, reporters scribbling, Karen shouting, "Lies." The judge banged her gavel. "Silence, present the evidence." Lena patched the files to the courtroom projector, and the screens lit up bank transfers from Karen to Caleb Holt, emails detailing attacks, and Grayson's dossier framing James for assault. Gasps filled the room. Grayson lunged for the mic. "This is a fabrication hacked, inadmissible," but Clara stood, voice steady. "I verified the files from base servers. They're real." Karen's face paled, her hands shaking. Todd grabbed her arm, hissing, "You said this was clean." The judge ordered, "Play the security footage." The screen showed Pierce handing a flash drive to Holt's thug, then accepting cash. The crowd roared, some shouting just as Grayson's composure cracked, his eyes darting to the exit. James locked eyes with him, his voice cold. "You're done, Grayson." The judge called a recess, but as the crowd spilled outside, chaos erupted. Sons of Liberty thugs, masked and armed with bats, stormed the courthouse steps, Holt's voice booming. "Tate's a traitor, Ellen. End him." Reporters screamed, diving for cover, while MPs struggled to hold the line. James pushed Clara behind a pillar, Lena drawing her Beretta. "They're here for us," Lena hissed, firing a warning shot. James grabbed a fallen MP's baton. His SEAL instincts was kicking in. "Protect the witnesses," he shouted, charging into the fray. A thug swung a bat, but James blocked, cracking the man's arm with the baton, sending him sprawling. Another lunge with a knife, but James sidestepped, slamming the baton into his gut, dropping him. Lena tackled a third, her fist breaking his nose. Blood spraying. Holt emerged, a shotgun raised, his mask off, face twisted with rage. "You're dead. SEAL," he roared, firing. James dove, the blast shattering a courthouse window, glass raining. He rolled, hurling the baton, cracking Holt's knee. Holt staggered, and James tackled him, pinning him to the pavement. "Call off your dolls," James growled, twisting Holt's arm. Holt laughed, spitting blood. "Patriots got plans. You'll never stop." MPs swarmed, cuffing Holt. But a new threat loomed. A thug grabbed Clara, knife at her throat, screaming, "Back off, or she's done." James froze, his heart pounding. Lena circled, but the crowd blocked her shot. James locked eyes with Clara, nodding slightly. She stomped the thug's foot, elbowing his ribs. Breaking free, James lunged, disarming him, his fist crashing into the man's jaw, knocking him out. Clara gasped, safe, as Lena cuffed the thug. The crowd cheered, phones recording, the tide turning. Back inside, the judge reconvened, her voice stern. "The evidence is overwhelming. The countersuit is dismissed. Charges against the Wheelers hate crime. Conspiracy proceed." Karen screamed. "This is a setup," but MPs dragged her and Todd away. Grayson slipping out, his face ashen. James took the stand, his voice steady, revealing his past missions in Yemen, saving hostages, losing teammates to IEDs. "I've fought for this country," he said, "and I'll fight for justice here." The room stilled, reporters wiping tears, public support surging. Outside, ex-posts exploded with praise. "Tate's a hero," while Grayson dialed a burner phone in a parking garage, his voice low. "Tate's winning." The crowd. "Patriot wants him silenced permanently." Karen, in a holding cell, clawed at the bars, shrieking, "I'll kill him myself, James." Lena and Clara left the courthouse, MPs escorting them through a cheering mob, but James's gut churned. Holt's words, Patriot's plans, meant the real enemy was still out there. Lena checked her laptop, pulling up Grayson's last email, "A meeting with Patriot tomorrow." "We crash it," James said, his wounds aching, but his resolve iron. Clara nodded. "Fierce. I'm in." The city pulsed beyond, the courtroom victory a spark. But the war was far from won. James gripped his knife, ready for the next fight, the shadow of Patriot looming large. James Tate stood outside the Norfolk courthouse, the morning air sharp with salt from the nearby bay, his dress blues stained with sweat and blood from the courtroom brawl. The flash drive's evidence, Karen Wheeler's payments to the Sons of Liberty. Victor Grayson's plot to frame him had crushed their countersuit, but the shadow of Patriot, the mastermind behind Grayson, loomed. Lena Carter, her Beretta holstered, scanned the crowd of reporters and supporters, her eyes catching a glint in a nearby van. "We're not clear," she whispered, nudging James. Clara Nguyen, clutching her phone, stayed close. Her courage hardened after exposing Lieutenant Pierce. The courthouse steps buzzed, MPs forming a perimeter as Karen and Todd Wheeler were led out in cuffs, their faces pale, Grayson trailing, his smug mask gone. James's ribs ached, but his resolve was iron. He'd end this today. Inside, the judge had ordered a criminal investigation into the Wheelers for hate crimes and conspiracy, Pierce's confession sealing their fate. But James knew the Sons of Liberty wouldn't stop. Captain Ruiz met him at the podium, a press conference set to address the base's response. "Speak your truth, Tate," Ruiz said, clapping his shoulder. James nodded, stepping forward, cameras flashing, the crowd hushing. "I'm a SEAL, sworn to protect this nation," he began, voice steady. "But no one's safe until we end hate here, now, together." Cheers erupted, reporters shouting questions, but a low rumble cut through a van's engine roaring. Lena yelled, incoming, as the van barreled toward the steps. Sons of Liberty thugs leaping out, masks on, bats and knives gleaming. The crowd screamed, scattering, MPs drawing weapons. James dove, shoving Clara behind a concrete barrier. Lena firing, her bullet grazing a thug's arm. Caleb Holt, free on bail, led the charge, a machete raised. "Tate dies today," he roared. James grabbed a fallen MP's baton, his SEAL training kicking in. He blocked Holt's swing, the machete sparking off the baton, and slammed his fist into Holt's jaw. Blood spraying, Lena tackled another thug, her knife slashing his bat away, but a third swung a chain, catching her leg, dropping her. James roared, hurling the baton, cracking the man's skull. Clara, trembling, grabbed a loose brick, smashing it into a thug's back, saving Lena. "Stay down," James shouted, pulling Lena up. MPs fired tear gas, but Holt's men pressed, a dozen strong, fueled by rage. A reporter, Sarah Miles, filming live, was grabbed by a thug, a knife at her throat. James sprinted, dodging a bat, and tackled the man, wrenching the knife free. Sarah collapsing, safe. "Keep rolling," James yelled, and Sarah, shaken, kept her camera up, broadcasting the chaos. Holt lunged again, but James sidestepped him, tripping him into an MP's cuffs. The thugs faltered, MPs overwhelming them, the crowd cheering as the last fell. Karen, watching from a police van, screamed, "You're nothing." Tate, but her voice was drowned by shouts of hero Todd. Beside her, slumped, broken, Grayson slipped into a sedan, but James spotted him, sprinting, Lena at his heels. They cut him off, James slamming him against the car. "Who's Patriot?" he growled, twisting Grayson's arm. Grayson gasped, "You'll never touch him." Lena found a burner phone in his pocket, its last call to a DZ number. "We'll see," James said, shoving him to MPs. Back at the podium, James faced the crowd, blood on his knuckles. Sarah's footage now viral. "This fight's bigger than me," he said. "Hate divides us, but we're stronger united." The crowd roared, signs waving Tate for justice. Clara stepped up, her voice clear. "I'm with him." "Who's next?" Applause thundered, public support surging. Ruiz pulled James aside, showing Pierce's full confession. Grayson hired Pierce to leak James's location, but Patriot funded the operation, targeting the base's stability. "We're tracing the D number," Ruiz said. "Could be high up." James nodded, his past flashing missions in hostile foreign lands. Brothers lost, all for a country now testing his faith. "I'll find Patriot," he said, voice steel. Across town, Karen and Todd faced arraignment, their bail denied. Grayson detained for conspiracy. The Sons of Liberty's attack had backfired, their ranks decimated. Holt facing life for terrorism. X posts flooded with support for James, his speech trending, while dark corners whispered Patriot's name, a shadow untouched. Lena cracked the burner phone's encryption, revealing a meeting Patriot and Grayson. "Tomorrow, at a private dock." "We crash it," James said, bandaging his arm. Clara volunteered. "Fierce. I'm not sitting this out." Lena grinned, loading her Beretta. "Let's hunt." James gripped his knife, the courthouse victory a spark. But Patriot's web was vast, and the final battle loomed. The city pulsed, alive with his fight, and James was ready to finish it, for justice, for his team, for the truth. James Tate stood at the edge of a private dock in Norfolk, the pre-dawn mist curling off the water, his tactical knife strapped to his chest. Lena Carter crouched beside him, her Beretta ready, while Clara Nguyen monitored a hacked feed on her phone, tracking Victor Grayson's burner. The courthouse victory had crushed Karen and Todd Wheeler, their criminal charges sealed. But Patriot, the shadow behind Grayson, remained. Last night's decrypted email pinpointed this dock a meeting between Grayson and Patriot. Their final play to silence James. Lena's voice was low. 2 SUVs inbound. Armed escorts. "Grayson's already here." James nodded, his brown eyes locked on the warehouse ahead, where Grayson's silhouette moved. "We end this now." They slipped forward, shadows in the fog, Clara relaying updates. The SUV screeched up, disgorging 6 Sons of Liberty thugs, rifles glinting. Grayson emerged, a briefcase in hand, greeting a man in a hooded jacket. "Patriot." James signaled, and they struck. Lena fired, her silenced shot dropping a thug, while James tackled another, his knife slashing the man's rifle strap, sending it clattering. Clara's drone, rigged with a flashbang, detonated, blinding the escorts. Grayson bolted, but James sprinted, tackling him into a crate, wood splintering. "Who's Patriot?" James roared, twisting Grayson's arm. Grayson gasped. "You're too late." Patriot fired a pistol, the bullet grazing James's leg, blood soaking his pants. Lena tackled Patriot, wrenching the gun free, but he fought back, a trained operative, landing a kick to her ribs. Clara, defying orders, rushed in, swinging a pipe, cracking Patriot's shoulder. He staggered, and James pinned him, ripping off the hood. It was Colonel Vance, a base senior officer, his face twisted with rage. "You betrayed the Navy," James growled, cuffing him with zip ties. Vance spat. "You're a threat to order." Threat to MPs, typified by Clara's feed, swarmed the dock, cuffing the thugs, Grayson and Vance. The briefcase held files. Vance's plan to destabilize the base, using Grayson to fund the Sons of Liberty, framing James to justify a crackdown. Back at the base, Captain Ruiz met James in the command center. Vance's files now with Navy intel. Vance wanted control. "Saw you as a symbol to crush." Ruiz said, "By my man, he's done court-martial pending." James, bandaged but unbowed, nodded. And the Wheelers, Ruiz grinned. "Sentenced today 5 years. Hate crimes and conspiracy." Karen's screams echoed in James's mind. Her empire of hate collapsed. Todd, broken, took a plea, testifying against Grayson, who faced decades for terrorism. Lieutenant Pierce, the mole, was discharged. His career ashes. That afternoon, the base held a ceremony, James at its heart, his seal trident gleaming. Ruiz pinned a commendation to his chest. The crowd sailors, civilians, Clara cheering. "You showed us what honor means," Ruiz said. James took the mic, his voice steady. "This fight's for all of us against hate, for justice." The applause thundered, ex-post flooding with his words, a beacon for change. Weeks later, James stood in a community center, launching the Tate Foundation, funded by his savings, to combat racism through education and advocacy. Clara joined as co-director, her courage now a voice for others. Lena, ever his shadow, trained volunteers, her Beretta swapped for a clipboard. "You're soft now," she teased. James grinned. "Just reloading." The foundation's first act was a scholarship for minority sailors. Its launch trending online, uniting thousands. Karen, in prison, saw the news, her rage futile, while Vance's trial exposed his network, toppling corrupt allies. One evening, James stood on the base's training field, mentoring new SEAL recruits, their faces a mosaic of America. "You're not just warriors," he told them, "you're guardians of what's right." A young recruit, eyes fierce, saluted, echoing James's fire. Lena watched, nodding. "Your legacy," she said. James shook his head, looking to the horizon, the bay glinting. "Our legacy." Back at the community center, Clara showed him ex-posts as millions inspired. Hate groups shrinking. "You change things," she said. James gripped his knife. "Now a symbol, not a weapon. We're just starting." The city pulsed, alive with their fight, and James walked into the sunset, a hero forged in fire, his recruits trailing, ready for a better world. The dock's battle, the courtroom's truth, the base's honor all led here. To hope, to justice, to a future he'd bleed for again. From a parking lot clash to crushing racism, Marcus's fight inspired us all. Thanks for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe with notifications on for our newest stories.